Hello and welcome to OSSLT Lessons, the short writing task. My name is Mrs. Kapar. I'm a literacy lead at Loreto College School. On the OSSLT, there are many different portions of the test where you're required to write. You know of the news report and you know of the series of paragraphs. But on the rest of the test, you're going to have to write several paragraphs, either short answer paragraphs based on something you've read, or a short writing task paragraph all by itself. The short writing task is probably the easiest part of the OSSLT. You do not have to read anything beforehand to answer it, and in fact, it's usually based on you and your interests. In that regard, it's easy. However, you are still required to answer in a properly written standard format paragraph that gives examples and reasons for what you're saying. The goal of this task is to see that you can write a complete thought on one topic in a proper, structured paragraph. Okay, so let's start with the basics. We're going to watch this very helpful instructional video from Northern Lights Secondary School. In the video, the teacher will explain how to respond to the short writing task from start to finish. While you're watching the video, keep in mind that though the question for the short writing task appears short or small or insignificant, the task is awarded up to 50 points. And remember that there are 2 of them on the test. So out of the 400 total points on the OSSLT, these 2 small paragraph questions are a quarter of the grade. So they are very important. Use handout 1 to jot down any instructions or strategies that you take note of in the video.
Hello, I'm going to show you how to write the short writing task in the OSSLT. Now this particular question has come from a previous OSSLT test that students answered, and you will see one very similar on the test that you write. There's one every year and it has the exact same format as this one. So the way I show you to answer this question will apply to the question that you encounter. So listen up. So the very first thing you should do when you see this question is, what do you think? That's right, read the bloody question. So here we go, section 3. Well, yes. Okay, short writing task, answer in full and correctly written sentences. That's important. You cannot answer this question in point form, and you absolutely cannot answer it in just one word. You need to write sentences with a plural. Okay, here we go. If you could visit anywhere in the world, which place would you visit? Explain why. All right, there's 2 parts to this particular question here. And a lot of students skip the second part, but it's right here. Explain why. That's very important. So if you, notice it's you, could visit anywhere in the world, which place would you visit? So you've got to pick a place, you've got to explain why, but it's very important that when you explain why, it's about you. This question is all about you. So let's give it a go, shall we? Now, there's a problem with these. Sometimes, I hope not, but sometimes it encounters students who don't have any idea. They have no idea. So it's their opinion and they don't have an opinion. So if you are one of those people, like with this question, if you don't have anywhere in the world where you would like to visit, well, it doesn't really matter. Just make something up. You've got to answer the question. The truth of your opinion on this isn't really what's being tested here. It's how you communicate an answer. So if you can't think of anything here, no place to visit, then just make something up. So for here, I'm going to go with something I think might be an easy way to answer it. I'm going to go with Rome. There we go. I'm going to go visit Rome, and now I've got to explain why. And I'm using my little rough notes area down here to jot some ideas before I get started so I don't get lost. So let's say I'm going to choose Rome because I like history. There we go, exclamation mark. I like history. What else would be in Rome? Rome is in Italy, and Italian food. So let's say I like Italian food. and Rome is, well, I think the weather's really nice there. So nice weather. I'm going to write in my notes here. So I think that's pretty good. I've got my place and I have 3 reasons of why I'd like to go there. I think that's enough. So let's start our question. You can start the question by repeating part of the answer. So that's kind of a nice way to start. You don't even need to start with your own words, use theirs. You've got to change it a little bit, like if I, rather than you, could visit anywhere in the world, I would visit Rome. And so now I've successfully answered the first part, but this part is actually the bigger question, or the bigger part of the question. So I'm going to use my points here. How about I would choose this location because, why? Let's say, well, I like history, so I know what to write. Because I like history. Now, if I end it there, haven't really connected what history has to do with Rome yet, even though it might seem obvious. But I need to do that in my answer. So I would choose this location because I like history, and Rome has been a let's call it a hot spot in history for thousands of years. There we go, I've given my idea and I've connected it to me and Rome. So I choose this location because of history, and I've proven why Rome is connected to history. Because it's a hotspot, of course. And if I want to give a little more detail on that, there are amazing ruins and museums that I would love to see. There we go. So I think that's enough detail about the history part of it. How about the food? How about Rome would also be great because I really love Italian food. And someone not knowing anything about geography might be a little confused, so how about Rome would also be great because it's in Italy and I really love Italian food, just to assume we're talking to people who have no idea what's going on. So that means now I'm done with my second point here, Italian food. I don't think I need to go into detail about spaghetti, but I could do that. I mean, I like pizza or spaghetti or whatever. But I'm going to leave it at that and then move on to nice weather, because I can see I only have 2 lines left. So with nice weather, I could say Rome would also be great, but then I'm repeating myself and it doesn't flow nearly as nicely with that kind of repetition. So I can mix up the order of the sentence. Instead of saying Rome at the beginning, and it's Rome this, Rome that, I could say I, at the beginning, really enjoy warm weather, which I hear Rome has plenty of. Period. There we go. And I even have a little space if I wanted to add another detail. But let's have a look at it as it is. So here we go. If I could visit anywhere in the world, I would visit Rome. I would choose this location because I like history, and Rome has been a hotspot in history for thousands of years. There are amazing ruins and museums that I would love to see. Rome is also great because it's in Italy, and I really love Italian food. I really enjoy warm weather, which I hear Rome has plenty of. Now in my reading over, I can hear it to myself, and I can see this last sentence just seemed to be stuck on there. So I need a nice transition word here. I think it would make it sound a little bit better. So I also really enjoy. So then it's Rome would also be great because it's in Italy and I really love Italian food. I also really enjoy warm weather, which I hear Rome has plenty of. There we go. So this is a level, well, not a level 3, it's a 3 out of 3. So it's a perfect answer for the OSSLT. If you do the same thing in your OSSLT short writing task, you will also get a 3 out of 3. Just remember, it's a two-part question. You're asked, where would you like to visit? I've answered that in one sentence, but the explain why takes up the rest. So some students get caught up in just describing this first part of the question, but they never really get into why. And the why, with a lot of these questions, is always referring back to you. So connect your why to you, like we've done here. I want to visit Rome because of the history, the Italian food, and the weather. So good luck with your own short writing task, and we'll see you in the next video.
What a helpful video that was. Here's another example of a short writing task piece that was scored as a code 30, which is the highest score for content on the OSSLT. A code 20 is given as the highest score for grammar or punctuation. The question prompt was, identify a place that has special meaning for you. Use specific details to explain why it is special. As you read this example together, take note of the author's point of view, any transitional words or phrases, the topic sentence, concluding sentence, and the examples that were given to prove their point. You may also take note of how short this is. Let's read it. A place that has special meaning to me is Delphi, Greece. Delphi is so special to me because my entire family was born and raised there. My grandparents live there, and I visit every summer. Delphi is beautiful, and I love that I can explore my culture and learn about my ancestors. It's pretty short, but it did get a perfect score on the OSSLT. There's a clear topic sentence. There are many examples given, and it's clear by the end of the paragraph that the examples given supported that topic sentence of Delphi having a special meaning in this person's life. Now that you've learned how to write the short writing task and you've seen two clear examples of it, it's important to understand how this part of the OSSLT is scored. Because it's such a short response and you probably won't spend too much time on it on the test, it's really important that you get it right away. So I just want to go over what those code numbers are that I've been talking about. For the short writing task, the content of your writing, so this isn't about spelling and grammar, is coded as a 10, 20, or 30. A code 10 response has three possibilities. It identifies or describes an answer, but doesn't give an explanation. So you might say, I really like Delphi, and then you don't say anything else. Or it identifies or describes an answer, but provides an irrelevant explanation. So again, as with our previous example, you could say, I really like Delphi because I like dogs. Well, that doesn't make sense, but at least you've answered part of the question. Or the other way is that you list a variety of examples with no explanation. So you say something like, Delphi has meaning for me, Toronto has meaning for me, Paris has meaning for me, Hawaii has meaning for me. Again, that's not answering the question at all. But you've written something and you kind of have an idea about what it's asking, so you would be scored a code 10. A code 20 is in between. A code 20 could be for two reasons. One, your response is developed with vague ideas and information, or some irrelevant ideas and information. Well, what's a vague idea? So in the example we had, the student had written, Delphi, Greece has special meaning. That's very specific. That's a city and a country. Here, your vague response might be something like, the park. Well, parks are great, but what park? Which park? Why is that park special? So you've answered it and you've given reasons why you like the park, but you haven't really been specific. The other way you could get a code 20 is if your response requires the reader to make the connection between the support provided and what's intended to prove. So for example, if you said, I like Delphi, Greece, they have good food, you're leaving me to figure out that you like it because it has good food. You haven't written the part that connects those two ideas together. A code 30 is the highest score you can have. And the two examples you've seen are code 30 examples. The response is developed with clear, specific, and relevant ideas and information. And the response identifies that answer by clearly explaining how the examples connect to the response. So you give reasons why Delphi has special meaning for you and why the fact that your grandparents are there helps Delphi have special meaning for you. I hope that makes sense. A final review. The short writing tasks and those short answer questions when you have stuff to read on the OSSLT all depend on your ability to craft a response that is clear, structured, and relevant. On the right is the simplest way to describe the components of the perfect paragraph structure. You've probably seen this several times in different ways, either as a flowchart, a different kind of graphic organizer, as a hamburger for the perfect paragraph. You might have even seen it as a stoplight, red, yellow, green. Whichever way you remember it, the important point is that there are three crucial parts to any paragraph. And if one of them is missing, you cannot get a successful score on that question. So looking at the components of the perfect paragraph structure, and you can use handout 2 to follow along. Number 1 is always the topic sentence. Of course, you have to tell me what you're going to talk about. Here it is a clear, relevant, and a broad sentence with its controlling idea for the paragraph. The second component of the perfect paragraph are all your support sentences. These explain the topic sentence and of course add more detail. And here you're required to add evidence that supports and develops your idea, your topic, with concrete details. You either use facts, examples, and reasons, and if it's something a little bit more poignant or specific, you might want to do a small analysis or argument. You might be asked to use direct evidence from the reading, and so you'd have to include a quotation. For the short writing task, though, you do not need to include a quotation. Any other personal experience examples or anecdotes? These all go in the center. These are your supporting sentences. The supporting sentences should also have transitional words and phrases within them. Things like, for example, on the other hand, for instance, therefore. The third part is the concluding sentence, and it's often the thing that most students forget about putting on. Please remember your concluding sentence. Without it, you cannot get a proper full score on the OSSLT question. Your concluding sentence explains the significance of your information. It ties the topic sentence and the supporting sentences together. It unifies everything, and it hopefully doesn't leave your reader saying, so what? It leaves your reader saying, wow, I guess so. Be sure to include all three components in any paragraph you write on the OSSLT. Now you try. Use handout number 3 to practice writing some short writing tasks. You really shouldn't spend more than 8 to 10 minutes on the test for this portion. Otherwise, you may not have enough time to finish the rest of the booklet. That's why practice is so important. Lastly, you can always continue doing a little bit of homework for the OSSLT. You can continue practicing these types of questions in your LCS OSSLT practice booklet. The short writing task information is on pages 62 to 69 in your booklet. All sample answers are available on the LCS Literacy website. To visit the LCS Literacy website, go to lcsliteracy.weebly.com. You can rewatch the instructional videos, get more examples, and remember you can even contact me from that website if you have any questions. If you do have any questions and you're at school, you can always find me in room 106 or in room 102 in the dark room. You can always ask your teachers, Miss Leone, or even Mr. Rusiello for help for the OSSLT. Good luck.